Okay. Andy is here from, I'm going to do it quick because people have already had to listen to us blather for a while. Andy, VP of Digital Services, Dubuque, Iowa, the Rome of Northeastern Iowa.
Got it.
Austin in Southern Pines. I'm going to say North Carolina. Is
Yeah.
that where Southern Pines is?
Yes,
Okay.
right near
Well,
Pinehurst. So if you like
right
to
near.
play golf,
Oh,
this is
gorgeous.
where you should go.
Stacy, Austin, or sorry, Stacy, Rob, and I all here in Omaha, home of the College World Series, where we're all rooting for the Chanticleers here today at their, I think, 1 o'clock game. We are background on us, then we're going to get to the topic of the day. We are a fundraising consulting firm. You guys probably know this. We run a whole bunch of annual appeals, raising tens and hundreds of millions of dollars a year. We also do a lot of outsourced Razor's Edge database administration. We do so much of it. We're the biggest Razor's Edge user on the planet, which we're quietly very proud of. And we've really gotten into fundraising automation. That's how probably most of the folks on the call here know us is you are attending BB Dev Days or you're on the Facebook forums and you're always hearing about, hey, we could automate this. Stacy and Austin have been leading the charge on automation for years now, so much so that we actually had to start a whole separate business just to wrap them up in it. So we had all these clients calling saying, hey, can you help automate things? The answer is yes. We have it under Automate Genius. If you want to know more about that, you can look it up, or we'll have a poll later on where you can ask for more information. We do a lot of these webinars. We also, if you're going to BBCon, Austin, BBCon's open, right? Like, did I just see like there you can officially register? Is that right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
registration is open.
Registration's open. You probably won't know anything about what the sessions are for another couple months or so, but you you can sign up to
Early
go.
bird discount though
I
right now.
mean,
Early
we
bird
won't
discount.
know if we have a session.
You won't know if you got picked to give a session for another couple. They got months. What are we talking about? But when you go, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. Talk to Blackbaud. Stacy and Austin will be presenting again. The last 2 years, they've had the most on-demand sessions, standing room only. Whenever they talk about things about automation, so this is us. That's who we are. We love what we do. We're here to talk about moving from database view to web view. Before I get there, housekeeping items. Yes, this is recorded. Yes, we will send you things. Look to your email. If you don't see it by tomorrow morning, check your spam. But we get that question a lot. We'll have the recording for you. We'll have the slides for you. In the chat, we'll probably Rob, who's busy probably watching College World Series here while he keeps an eye on us, will be adding in the chat. We'll reference a lot of things that we put together, webinars and cheat sheets and things. We'll just share a bunch of links in the chat, so you can always go there. And if you have questions, and many of you will have questions, use the Q&A button. If you use the chat, we'll never get to it. If you use the Q&A button, we absolutely will. So much so that when we get done with these webinars, the first thing that happens is Austin texts me and says, hey, do you have a list of those questions that are in there? Because Austin cannot get up from her desk. She can't eat, sleep, drink, anything until she has answered every question that came in during the webinar. So this is your chance to get direct one-on-one access to Austin Brown to answer those questions. Okay. What is Razor's Edge? Andy, I usually call on you. I'm just going to tell you, correct me if I say this wrong. Razor's Edge, back in the day, there's Razor's Edge version 7, hosted.
Yeah.
Then they announced Razor's Edge NXT, which sounded like a new product. Really, it was sort of like a skinned web thing plus database view. Is that right? So NXT was still straddling both.
Yeah.
You have database view, you have web view. We get calls all the time from like a CFO that'll be like, oh my gosh, my DBA is still using this clunky database view thing. Like, can you shake them? And we're like, they're doing their job. That's what their
Right.
database view is still there.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, like we played the original Xbox, we got the Xbox 360, which you could still play the original Xbox games on. And now everybody's on like the Series X. Like that's essentially what we're looking at right here.
Love it. And what's happening is that Razor's Edge is going to a complete web view. Okay. They're really doing it this time. Why does this make people nervous? Why does it make them so nervous? I had the cartoon on before. I'll put it up again. It makes people nervous because we many of us feel we've been down this road before. Andy, when did you convert to NXT?
In 2016. So I was one of the first people, well, certainly in Iowa, I was the first person in Iowa, one of the first in the Midwest to transition from RE7 to NXT when it was like a skeleton of what it is now.
And at the time, were you under the impression that it would be a decade before it was like that NXT was like actually an all-in-one?
Like a year or two, but again, that was like 2016, 2017. So yeah,
things happen. So people are nervous because they've been promised this before, and we totally get it. We're not here. So again, we are a enormous user of Razor's Edge. There's things that are great about it, and we'll call and compliment them for that. There are things that are wonky, which we will call that out as well, and we'll always help move people to productive means of suggestions on how to improve the product. But I guess I'd say we're not agnostic because we use razor's edge amounts, but I just want the audience to know, like, we call balls and strikes, right? Blackbaud has announced this thing for 10 years, but they are finally doing it. So we are here to tell you, yes, it really is happening now. It's not like when they were selling you on why you needed to upgrade, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It legit is happening. It's in the cards. Timeline, Austin, is this the most recent one?
It is. It's from just about a month ago at the latest pub.
So the scary thing to me on here is this, right? This little section, you can see my mouse, this no database, like things exclusively in unified view. They're saying 2027 for that.
Yeah, the first half of 2027.
So things are going over.
I said better than 2026, which is what they said at BB
Yeah, at least they gave themselves another year, right?
We just lost another half of the webinar. Everybody's like, "Oh, I don't have to worry about this for another year. What am I what am I doing on this? It's college baseball to watch." So things are moving over. They're moving from database view. They're rolling out the features in web view. That's happening. We're going to do a real lightning version of what has moved over, and then we're going to talk really in depth about reporting today. But first, Austin, you brought up something. You had a phrase yesterday when we were talking about this that stuck with me.
Yeah, so our hope and dreams for the final view of the unified view of Razor's Edge may not be the same as Blackbaud's, right?
Yeah.
So there is a hidden page in their help documentation if you use this QRL that you can go take a look and see what they don't plan to bring over. And their help docs take some time to get updated, but I, fingers crossed, hope that as they move through this process, they'll update that page.
Yep. So that's and I'll say it again for the folks, like your view, like if you're working at XYZ college university, your view of things having officially moved to WebView is not the same as Blackbaud's view of things having official. Like there are things that will not move over, things that'll be done differently. We're here to help with a whole bunch of that. We do it for free. Final plug before we get into the things that are moving. Austin, for the folks that don't know, what is a pub? What are we talking about here?
It's a product update briefing, and it contains lots and lots of information. And if you haven't seen it, I implore you to set aside 90 minutes and go watch it. It is chock full of so much information. You'll be overwhelmed, but you'll be better off for it because you'll have all the data you need to move forward and adjust things with your teams.
And Austin wins the webinar with the use of the word implore, which is a fantastic word and was perfect for that. Like that was so well said. Go attend the pubs. We implore you, Stacy. All right, lightning round. We cannot get caught up in this. People are here to talk about reporting, so don't get lost in the weeds here. What are things that are moving? And while we do this, Rob will probably drop some links to what we talked about before. So
while we're flipping slides too, I'll just mention those of you that voted for query lists, or what are the other two? Control reports and queries, and consecutive years giving in query. Blackbaud changed those ideas to planned yesterday, much to rejoicing among all of us. So I am really heartened by that. So keep voting for ideas that you want, because they just picked 3 big things that people were asking for. So yay. So donation forms, what do we have in here? So Online Express and Net Community and all of those things are eventually going to disappear. The good news is that NXT forms are really great, and they're adding new things to them all the time.
like pledges.
Like pledges, which are now available, although I think there are some still growing pains going on with those. But eventually those will also have automated payments. So someday gone will be the days of having to pull batches twice a month to make people's pledge payments. Automated recurring gifts work great. If you have not tried these, you have to try them. They're awesome. The new data review tool is brilliant in NXT gifts. So this is why most of us didn't move to NXT donation forms, because we couldn't match up constituents and it created too many duplicates, and that is no longer the case. So go check this out. It totally works. It's great.
Optimized form.
These are really pretty. This is one that I love from Seed Savers. They just have a million pretty pictures on their website anyway. But
Iowa, by the way.
What?
They're based in Iowa. Just throwing that out there.
Of course they are.
Quick plug for, hey, hold on. Don't we have something else? Doesn't Seed Savers? Angie on our team was talking about them. Don't they have something we should be plugging, like some membership or something like that?
They do.
They had something cool that
That
everybody's
sounds
like, oh, I
familiar.
didn't know
It
that
was
existed.
something cool.
It was
Yeah.
like, it was take a photo of a plant, or am I confusing things? It was like take a photo of a plant and it tells you what it is or where you can buy it or something.
Oh, they
So
might. Let's all check that.
if somebody from Seed Savers is on the call, go ahead and remind us why your organization is so awesome. I remember being enthralled.
So the optimized forms are cool and they're designed for conversion. So if you have something where you just want to get gifts in as fast as possible from people at an event or something like that, check out the optimized forms because they're very cool.
Excellent. And we have done webinars on all of these. So we're rushing through these not to annoy you, but because we're just reminding you. And if all of this is brand new to you, go back to our original webinar, where I think it was called Making the Leap Part 1, and then there's a Part 2, and then we have some other stuff. But we covered all of this. Likewise, Query. We did a whole webinar on this, but Stacy, what's the highest level version of Query stuff? It's moving over.
Yeah, Query is now available in WebView, and all your queries that you've ever created and that you've been hoarding in your Razor's Edge database view are over in WebView now. So go check it out. Go find one and run it and see what happens. And do yourself a favor and try this today if you have not. It's gonna look exactly or mostly exactly like database view query. You're gonna have no trouble with it, and there's some really nice new things that they've put in there.
And I want to reiterate that there were some things. So, because we get that question all the time, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm annoyed. They're moving things around. It looks different." Yes, stuff like that can be annoying, but go back and watch a webinar because Stacy goes through. There are things that are much, much better for you. Your life will be easier because of some cool things that they've rearranged and automated. So we want to give credit where it's due to Blackbaud. They've done some cool stuff. Batches.
We are excited about this, but it isn't ready yet. But pretty soon we'll have high-speed gift batch in WebView, and it's going to be better than gift batch in database view. I know that we've all seen the updates in the product update briefings. It's going to be really, really great. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Excellent. We're excited for that to come. And now the topic of today. So when we were doing, we did part 1 and 2 about just sort of what does it mean to move from database view to web view, what's coming, sort of a hand-holding thing, wildly popular. In one of those, I think Andy mentioned something about reporting, and everybody just went nuts. Like everyone, like we launched like a flash poll and said, "Hey, do you guys want to know more about reporting?" And we had our first 100% yes. It was like 250 people all said we want this webinar. So today's webinar is a response to the people that have come to everything before. We're digging into reporting in NXT. We're going to talk about Insight Designer. We're going to talk about all that stuff. So I think for a lot of folks, Andy, I'll call on you. This was a bit of a wake up call, and I know this because it's all of our clients and the people that are still calling potential clients. Database view, when it came out and when people are using it, originally the reporting was less than robust. Is that fair?
I would say, yeah, it was very, very basic. There was not a lot of customization. It was like the standard reports, but it was like the most standard of the standard reports. Like there, you couldn't make it do anything. So for it to do a lot of the things you wanted to do, you had to create workarounds.
Yes, and those workarounds would be crystal reports or access, right? I mean, that's largely what was happening. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I won't name names here, but I think we have a wonderful client and they have a brilliant database administrator. And when Razor's Edge 7 was all there was, and it was database view, like this DBA built amazing things in Crystal, right? And some in Access, like because that's all there was. Like the client, like the fundraisers needed reporting, the boards needed that complex reporting. So you built it because it just didn't exist otherwise. They were so far ahead of the game and they did all of this and it worked. And now Razor's Edge is finally catching up to them, right? And offering that reporting inside of the web view or the unified view or the total web solution, whatever we're calling it. They're offering that. So now is a chance to kind of go, and it can be frustrating, right? Because you have something that works and it's going to break. But when it breaks, you should be able to now build it using the new tools. That's kind of where we are in this process, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So a lot of people on the calls, I even saw it in the chat, like you're sitting there, you have Crystal reports, you have that one mother of all reports that everybody at your university uses. Nobody knows how it was built. Nobody, everybody's scared to touch it. So you're on here wondering, how do we rebuild this thing, even in the aggregate? Your options right now, and this is what Stacy's going to get into. You've got reporting now that's more robust from RENXT. You've got Insight Designer, which is sort of an add-on module that we'll talk through, and some dashboards and things you can do. You also have some of the amazing stuff that Austin and Stacey are doing that we do through Automate Genius, and we're going to walk you through what all that looks like. So the goal by the end of today, so like in the next 40 minutes, we want you to walk away understanding, I now know what reporting is available in WebView, what it can do, how it works, where I go to do it. I understand what's going to break on my own internal system with Crystal and Access and everything else. I understand Insight Designer and whether I need to buy it and what it can do. And I understand automation and how that all fits into this. So that's our whole goal for today. Stacey, do you mind taking the lead on this, and then Austin and Andy can kind of chime in as we go?
Yep.
Okay.
So standard reports is what Blackbaud is calling all the old canned reports from the reports section of database view, now that those are being moved to Razor's Edge web view. So all your gift detail and summary reports and all of that stuff. So that is now in your web view, and every report parameter file that you've ever created and saved for posterity is already in web view. So especially if you have something that you just open once a week and press run, if you haven't yet, go try that in WebView. It will work very similarly to how it works in database view. It'll look similar. It'll be a lot like query. You're going to recognize 98% of it, and there's going to be a couple of things that are a little different, including some really, really cool benefits. So what happens is you can, from that screen where you're looking at the list, you don't even have to open the report up. You can just click on that menu and click run, and it'll pop up in your notifications up there, and you click that that link in the little green thing, and your report will download itself. It's super slick. It's amazing. So try it out. You don't even have to set up anything new or do any, choose any options. You can just go to the report that you always run, and with about 3 clicks, you'll have it.
Awesome.
This is what the gift detail and summary report looks like when it comes out as a PDF. So very similar, tiny bit different. One thing you'll notice that I love is that instead of truncating fund names that are super long, is it wraps them. So you can see we have hematology oncology program and Andrew and Kara Schrader endowed scholarship is all showing up there. It's so much prettier than the way database view used to do this, right? So love that.
Also, just Austin on the side, if you want to pull up this, I keep getting my internet connections unstable. I'm sure it'll be fine, but if you don't mind just pulling up the PowerPoint just in case I go black here.
Sure.
Excellent.
My official favorite thing about new standard reports in WebView is that the the CSV output is actually useful and is brilliant. So the old way, you remember, if you tried to export a report as a CSV, it was just ludicrous. It was hard to tell where the column headings were. The data was, it wasn't usable really. So now what comes out is if you choose a CSV output for that report that we just saw in the PDF, this is what you get. It's a list of all the GIFs with the stuff in the report with headers. I just love this. I'm so happy about it. It's such a nice improvement. So this is one of the best things they've done.
It is easier to throw a perfect game in the College World Series than it is to get the official Stacey seal of approval. And she gives it to the new CSV export report. She's a big, big fan.
It's so great.
All right. What do we got here?
Anonymous settings. Remember how those used to be in database view? They're buried in user settings, and it's a big pain, and I can never remember where they are, and so I have to Google it every time I want to change it. And then, so now every time you run the report, this anonymous formatting is sitting there at runtime. So it's very easy to switch back and forth between using anonymous or including names or something. This is a really, really, really nice upgrade.
Well done, Blackbaud. Okay.
So the details is all the stuff that used to be hidden on that last tab of the report setup, and it's kind of more front and center, and they've combined some things, so it's easier to find stuff. So I think this is also a nice little change. The other thing you can do is you can share report results. So your recently run reports will show up here. So if if you run something and then forget about it and then come back to it later, it will be here, right? It won't just disappear when your Razor's Edge time's out because you're away from your desk. It'll be here. And you can share those report results with people. So it's really slick. If I share that with Austin, then when she logs into Razor's Edge, she'll be able to see the same report I'm looking at. And scheduling, we love this. Everybody's wanted this forever.
It's a big deal.
Try this out, schedule it, and then the next time you're in your Razor's Edge, you can go in and look at the report and it's done. And you do not have to sit there and have your Razor's Edge tied up while a report runs for 3 hours or whatever it is, right? Like, Ken, yes, it is exactly like Q, only better, because you can set this to run every day at midnight or whatever. Yes.
This is wild. So database administrators are no longer going to have to like sit at their desk for like 7 hours or like coming on weekends and like jealously guard access to their.
So much less
And
candy
jiggling your mouse.
Yeah, move their mouse every few seconds.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Excellent.
And this is another kind of like part of it, right? So Ken mentioned Q. A lot of organizations are paying extra for the Q module to do this kind of thing. This is something that's baked in now to, most of you probably have NXT Essentials or NXT Pro. This is part of that subscription. So this is a feature that you actually can take advantage of without having to pay extra money for.
Love that.
Pro tip, Austin has been doing some cool things here. So you can also use automation to run the reports and then just email you the results. So Austin, show me an example of what this looks like.
Yeah, so this is super exciting. I think the primary complaint for scheduling in WebView is that it doesn't send you an email, right? It's an in-system notification, but this will send you an email, and you can set it up to run on any frequency you want. You can have it run any report you want as long as it exists in WebView, and it's super exciting. And beyond that, you could even send it in a Teams message. Like, it doesn't have to just be an email, right? And all of these links talk directly to SharePoint and OneDrive, and your team can just click on those and access the information they need. And I particularly like Teams because of the emoji and the commenting. So, right, so if they have questions about the report or want to give a thumbs up that they've seen it, then it's a super clear way to have like collaboration amongst your teammates.
So Austin, hypothetically, you're a DBA at a large organization. You have lots of frontline fundraisers who their entire lives are just asking you to pull the same report, even though you've taught them how to do it a million times. Every morning they email you, they ask for the same thing. You could automate it to just send it to a dedicated Teams channel or an email or something, like as an attachment, as a PDF, as a CSV, as whatever they need.
And it's the same as like pressing go in the system. So what it generates will be updated at the time that it runs, right? Yeah. So that's super cool.
That's madness. And more of it, most of the folks know, the folks that are using Automate Genius know this. So you can, let me zoom on this. So this is a sample email, right, that sends out. So not only can you send reports, but you can, if you're a major gift officer, you can automate a report to go to the major gift officer, say, hey, here's all the people in your pool, your prospects, and we're going to give you a prompt because one of them just made a gift and one of them just joined the president's circle. And that major gift officer can click on that email and the real magic happens, and it will draft and open up an email to the donor from the major gift officer, from a real person. This is not automating like a do not reply newsletter blast thing from Blackbaud. This is actually, honest to goodness, serving up an email from their Outlook or their Gmail to the donor. It's crazy. We're not talking about it really anymore on this day. If you want to know more about the automation stuff, this is what we're talking about. So I'm going to give you a chance here. If you want to know more about how all of this works, it's outside the scope of this webinar. It's stuff that Stacy and Austin and the team are doing for everybody every day. So if that interests you, the idea of arming your staff with the ability to get every morning email with a bunch of prompts, like to donors saying happy birthday or thanks for paying off the pledge, or a live bunch email. We haven't heard from you in a while. Would you like to renew a gift? That's what automation can do. We can follow up with you and talk with you about that.
Did we lose Nick?
Oh no, I think we might have.
What happened when you stick with Android?
Oh,
I'm back. Sorry about that. I was just going to hand it to you and ask if you don't mind sharing your screen, which would be a good time because it looks like my computer is melting down.
Okay, yep.
That's not good.
Okay. All right, so we showed you some things on standard reports in WebView, so please go check those out. One thing to keep in mind with those is that Blackbaud has said that they're probably not going to be building out every single thing that's in database view now. So keep your eyes on what's been created and what hasn't. Those are right here in analysis, standard reports. So go check it out, play around. You'll probably love it. It's definitely has some improvements. What I wanted to show you specifically today are the fundraising dashboards, which are pretty cool. So they exist here, analysis and fundraising dashboards. So the difference between this dashboard and your standard reports, this one's pretty, it has lots of colors, and it does all the things that you do in Razor's Edge. So everywhere else, when something is a link, you can click on it and it will pop you up a list eventually of all the gifts that are included in this amount. So let's start talking real quick about a couple of things. So to open a dashboard, for one thing, this reporting page it's just one reporting page, but it has these tabs. So it works similarly to the lists pages. If you go in there right now, you all have a bunch of these pre-built dashboards, things like overview, funds, campaigns, etc. So these are pre-built by Blackbaud. And they have a bunch of charts in here that are very colorful and cool. They all have filters across the top so that you can say, you know, I only want to look at this one campaign or this one date range or received versus committed revenue, or all those things. And then it shows you your top campaigns, top funds, whatever they've decided are helpful metrics for these. So check those out. They might be useful for something that you'd like to do. These you can schedule to email to yourself, and it sends you a PDF of what it looks like at the time that it's sent. So that's kind of fun, although these are pretty limited. You can't change very much. You can just change these filters up at the top. So, but may be helpful for something that you're trying to do. So if you get asked for a report, I think this is a great place to start to see if this will do what you want.
Stacy, can I jump in real quick just because I see somebody in the chat and I'm guessing that there are more? Yeah. So you have access to this if you have the permissions to have access to this, and not everybody on this call may have that. So talk to your database administrator to see if there's opportunities for you to get access to the reporting and analytics tab or the section of NXT in order for you to be able to see these things.
Yep, and that is a security role in WebView that will allow you to see these. Thank you. Good point. So I want to show you my capital campaign dashboard because this is a custom one that I have built. So you also all have, if you have permissions, you have this custom dashboard that you can build where you can choose the insights that go on here. These little boxes are all each called insights, and you can drop whatever insights you want onto a custom dashboard to make the exact report that you need. So there's different kinds of insights. This one is just a number. There's some charts. There is, you know, a list, a table with a bunch of data. There's these pretty pie charts. One thing that's cool about these, like I mentioned before, if you click on something, it will pull you up a list of all the gifts that are included in things. The other thing that's cool about these is that you can turn sections on and off, right? Like say, oh, I know my biomechanics research fund is taking everything up, but I want to see how everything else is doing. You can actually turn things off. So now I'm just seeing everything else right there. And I said, you know, can keep doing this until you can see the one you want to see, right? And then we can see that the Field House Fund has something in it, and then we'll go down there. So that's cool. And these all do that. So you can change this to just show the amount committed or just show the fund goal and stuff. So play around with these. These are fun. So everyone, again, has this stuff. And can go and play around with these with the insights that Blackbaud has built. Let me look at my notes so I don't forget what I'm planning to say. Just a sec. There are filters at the top of this page, and you can change these. So let's say instead of all time, I want to see the last 12 months or something. You can change the date range. And these filters up at the top of the page can be either locked down so that no one can change them except you when you're editing the dashboard, or they can be active like this so that anybody looking at the dashboard can change them themselves, which is a kind of useful little trick, depending on your staff and the people you support and how good they are at noticing stuff like that. So let's change this back to all time because that's what I want. Okay. So how to edit these. So right now we're in analysis fundraising dashboards. And in order to change this or edit it, we need to go to analysis dashboard builder. And I'm going to do that by right clicking and choosing open in a new tab because I like to have lots of tabs open. Ask anybody.
I feel seen.
So we're going to go to my capital campaign dashboard. And now I can see the same dashboard. But it looks a little different, right? I have blue lines around things. If I hover over stuff, I can do extra things and change things and remove stuff. Let's remove this one because I was supposed to remove that before this webinar started so I could show you how to add them. All right. So basically, we can edit anything we want to in here. These little guys up at the top are just little text boxes. And I'm using this to to put some information out there. This is static. This is not connected to anything. This is just something I typed in because I find every time my executive director looks at this dashboard, she asks me, when did the last mailing go out? So I update this every time one goes out so she doesn't have to ask me that every time, right? So let's talk about filters. So the filters are up here. So how we edit this is we have this little dashboard builder box down here. And it has insights, filters, and page elements, which the page elements are just these little lines. That's all that is. And then we can add text boxes wherever we need to add additional explanations or notes or whatever. Filters are things that we can put up here to change what data is being shown in the dashboard. So this is this is a GIFs dashboard. I want to show GIFs here. So if we wanted to say, look at GIF type or something, I could say, let's put this up here in case I just want to see pledges or something. So those go up there. And then we can either choose things here or we can leave it on all and then we can choose them when we're actually viewing the dashboard. So insights is the fun part. So there are bunches and bunches of insights in here and they have these handy dandy little icons next to them so you know what type they are. So these are like the horizontal bar chart, there's tables, there's a up and down bar chart, there's pie. These ones that say X are just these numbers that show up here. So that's a nice little easy way to tell what you're looking at. I wanted to add an insight. We can I'm going to show you how to add one. So I want to add one that's a table because the one I want to add is called Pledges by Constituent. Because it is I like these table ones. I use these a lot. This shows all the pledges or all the donors that have a pledge to my stuff up here, right? And it shows their details about the pledges. So this is already pre-built by Blackbaud. We can just drop this in here. And now anybody that has questions for you about pledge fulfillment and such, or has so-and-so's payment come in, this can go here. It's really useful for a capital campaign, right? Like how much of Pamela Elliott's has she paid already? Where are we at, right? So this is really, really nice. And there's bunches of stuff in here. So play around, add a bunch of insights to a dashboard and see what shows up. Best practice idea for when you are building these is start with reports that you kind of know what they should already look like. So if you know your data, you know about you should have about 8 pledges. Oh, sure enough, there are 8 pledges, right? Add things that you kind of know what you should expect to see. That'll be easy to tell if the report is doing what you are asking it to. So one other thing you can do, we can edit the properties of all of our insights. So let's say, for example, that what I really want to do here is just show pledges to the field house, say. So you can change, we'll talk more about filters. There's lots of places to change filters in in Report Builder and Insight Designer. So there's one here and there's one inside the properties of each insight. So let's say we really only want to have pledges for a certain fund show up because we're waiting for, you know, a fund pledge to this certain fund, and we know that's what we're going to get asked about. So we can add an insight filter that will overwrite the page filters, and it will only show us whatever funds we choose here. So let's say typing's hard. I want the field house, pledges to the field house to show up here, because that's, you know, what we're concentrating on, and there is nothing, right? So, but if we put this dashboard or this insight on this dashboard, then when there is one, it'll pop in here, and that'll be super helpful, right? So second place, so now we have 2 places for filters, place 1, and then inside of edit properties. All right, how are we doing? Are there questions? I have
So many questions.
There are some,
but we're gonna wait.
Very many questions.
In a good way. None of the questions are like, what is Stacy doing? They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What the heck? What can we do? What else can we do with this?
I think one of the things that's important to mention, though, because we as a team ourselves, a lot of times when we're building dashboards, struggle with it, right? Is because you can filter in other places, it's easy for the numbers not to match, because if you're looking at it outside of the dashboard and you're running the report, you have probably a lot less filters, and so the numbers are what they are. And then you're looking at this saying, okay, everything on top is the same, but the fact of the matter is, because you filtered it within the insight, which Stacy just showed, it may be including or excluding certain things that your other report isn't. So just kind of caution of that. If the numbers don't match, it's generally because you've over filtered something, you know, either on the page setting side or within the individual insights.
And that's a great best practice. As much as you can, keep your filters at the highest possible level. So right here, because it's easy to see what they are. And it also allows you to reuse insights more often, as I will show you when we get into Insight Designer. But yes, this is a great example, because then somebody comes on here and says, I know we had 8 pledges to the capital campaign. Why does this show 0, right? Another best practice, probably don't use these dashboards for financial reporting because of all those filters, because of things, right? So if you are doing something that is finance related and needs real detailed exactness, I would use standard reports for that, like you have been doing, and use this for a dashboard. This is supposed to be something like a dashboard in your car where you can look at it and see all at once kind of how things are going. But this is not necessarily for real detailed kind of stuff.
So Stacy, level setting us for the group. So this is all, everybody has this. If you have NXT, like you have this, you have the ability. A lot of people I can tell haven't messed around with this yet because they're like, oh, this is going to solve a lot of problems. So this is built-in WYSIWYG stuff inside of NXT.
It's so cool.
Okay.
It's very fun.
Awesome.
Now I will get into the even more fun part that is not included. Sorry, guys. But this is the module called Insight Designer, and it allows you to take these insights and build literally anything you can think of almost using your Razor's Edge data. And it's very, very fun. So let's add an insight, and I have this button because we do have Insight Designer. So I can just make up my very own insight. So let's go to an Insight Designer, and here we are. This is super tedious and detailed in here. So it's going to remind you a lot of the inside of query because it has a ton of stuff in here. It all looks a little bit different than the way we are usually used to looking at it in Razor's Edge. But I think if you jump in here, you will recognize a lot of things. But there are some things that are different too. So buyer beware. So I want to add a column chart. So the chart that I want to add here is going to be a stacked bar chart that's going to show our gift amount received and a cool little feature of Insight Designer that we like to use called projection. So it's pretty cool. So we're going to start with column chart. And so I have areas to put stuff. So I have metrics here, which are going to be the numbers that I want, and then view by, which is going to be how we're going to split our columns up, and then stack by, which I also love. I use stacked bar charts a lot. So what I really want to show is receive, which if you also, I don't know how to spell received. Your received and committed are 2 kind of broad revenue categories that Razor's Edge has for you, and that is in your settings. I can't see it right now, so I'm not even going to show you it, but it's in the control panel, and it's called revenue or giving analysis settings or something. Thank you. And so go there and check out what gift types are being included and received and committed, and that's what you're going to get here. So if I choose gift amount received and put that in my metrics, it's going to make me a bar chart that shows the total gift amount received ever in the whole, in my whole database, right? Because there's no filters up here. There's no date filters anywhere. So I'm not going to add any right now, but there are some places for filters. So you can put filters here, which is your third level of filtering. And you can also put filters in individual, they call these attributes. I'm really sorry, guys. I would not have done that if it were me, but they did. I'm so sorry.
No one asked.
So confusing. I had to take a class through Blackbaud University so that I could figure out what filters were or attributes were in this context.
Right. So this is called an attribute, just, I don't know. You could also call it a metric. I don't know why it doesn't say add metric filter here, whatever.
The background is, I believe Inside Designer was a different piece of software that Blackbaud purchased and kind of bolted onto it, which is why it feels that way.
It definitely does feel that way.
Yep.
So we have our total gift amount received here. And the other thing I'm going to add to this is the projection. So gift projected amount is super cool. And this includes both your pledge balances in the future and recurring gift payments that we expect to come in the time period on the dashboard approximately. This thing can be messy. So if you are going to use the projection, this is literally just to say, we think this is probably how much we're expected that we have raised by now. But you definitely cannot use this number for anything finance-wise, right? You cannot book all of this. Recurring gifts are not accrued. So it's cool because when your fundraisers come to you and say, but we have all these recurring gifts, how much are we going to bring in this year? From recurring gifts, this thing will tell you, which is super great. There's not a place in database view that does that at all. So I love that.
Yep.
I want to have a separate column for each fund. So we're going to do fund description in my view by section, and that is going to now make me a million little categories for each fund in my database. And now I'm going to click the stack metrics button. And now what it's going to do is it's going to stack them together. And if we had fewer funds on this screen, it will actually, I'll show you when we get back to the dashboard, it'll actually put the total amount right up here at the top, which is cool, right? So then when we're looking at this chart on our dashboard, we'll see we've received, $1 million and we're expecting another $1 million. So then you'll say, oh, we've raised $2 million towards this goal, right? Okay. I think that is all I wanted to do to this. Let me name this something. Stacked bar graph for webinar dashboard. I don't know how long it'll let me do. Okay, I will save. And then I will close this. Wait, let me check if there was anything else that I wanted to mention here. I don't think so. All right. So now when I get back to my dashboard, I'm filtered on tables. So I want to select all types. And there's my stacked bar graph for webinar dashboard, and we'll put that in here. These are also like, it's kind of dumb the way this works. You just have to deal with it, sorry. And we'll stretch this out so we can see some more things. But this is what it looks like here. So it shows me my projected amount in yellow and my received amount in blue, and then my total amount up here. So I love that. I think it's super useful just as a, kind of general temperature gauge for how we're doing with our fundraising. So let's go ahead and save this. There are properties down here. This is where you can change things like who can see the dashboard. You can make one and just give it to one person if you want. You can change your page filter stuff here. Link to the dashboard, super useful. I love that. So let's save this and go back here and we'll refresh this page and look at what it looks like now that we've added some stuff to it. So there is my stacked bar chart. which I love, showing us approximately how much we've raised towards these different funds, and my pledges by a constituent that we know doesn't actually have anything on it yet. And then all my other stuff is still down here too. So this is the basics of how these dashboards works. They're really fun. They can be really useful. I love them for sharing with fundraisers and executives on your team. Super useful. You cannot, I showed you how to schedule and email the other ones to yourself, and you can't do that with any of these. So really these are just for viewing in Razor's Edge, but you can export the data from individual insights if you ever want to. So you could do that if that's something helpful, especially with a table like this, that might be a little more helpful.
And with the graphs, just use your snipping tool on your laptop. A lot of people do that.
Copy and paste it somewhere.
Yeah. So from the executive standpoint, for a lot of folks, like looking at Stacy's screen, this is the sort of thing that your executive director assumes that you can do, and assumed you could do 10 years ago, right? Like anytime they're running a large fundraising operation, they assume that the DBA has access to these dashboards and thermometers and all that stuff. Like now you have it, right? And much of it is baked into Razor's Edge. The expanded version is Insight Designer, which is an add-on module, which is, Andy, what, a couple $1,000 a year, give or take?
Yep.
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 Austin, can you speak to the free trial? I know some people asked about that. So if they want to mess around with Insight Designer.
Yeah, there's a free trial. I don't know how long it is, but I think it's at least 30 days. So thankfully,
but at the end of 30 days, I want to warn people, right? If you build stuff in there, you lose it. Isn't that, or there's some issue?
I think it gets locked down after your trial is over. I don't know that it would work once the trial ends.
Right.
But as David said in the chat, is put it through its paces, right? So don't wait on your 30-day trial until the last 5 days to try stuff out. Like get in there, test it out, see if it would work for you. If it doesn't have quite everything you need, there are other options. Like you could take a look at Power BI. That's probably the most customizable option out there, and it can connect to Razor's Edge too.
And the other thing is, and I don't want to get into like hey, I want to sell Insight Designer to everybody on this call, but when you think about how long it would take you to manually generate a lot of the data that ultimately we were able to put in this dashboard, it's going to be a substantial amount of time for you to run individual reports and queries, mash all the data together, and get it to look pretty. Whereas this kind of intuitively takes a lot of that and does it. You know, Nick, you said like your bosses already think that you can do this and you can do it in 30 seconds. It wasn't 30 seconds. But it was, a matter of a few minutes, and it would otherwise take you hours and hours to get all this data and then verify and check all that stuff. So just something to consider there.
Why don't we go to, so let's do this, Stacey. If you actually, before you stop sharing, Stacey, there's a question. Do you really have 23 different internet browsers open right now across the bottom of your screen?
I do. I'm so sorry. Did someone count them? Is it really 23?
I didn't want you to stop sharing before.
I usually close them all before webinars and was busy today and didn't do it. So now everyone knows what my brain really is like.
I think everybody on this call is like, oh man, they're just like us. That's every single person out here. All right, I'm going to share my screen while Austin, you start looking at the Q&A stuff.
Yeah.
Because I want to get to that cheat sheet that you put together while we start, because so many questions, we're going to answer them. I promise you. While Austin does that, let's highlight this amazing thing the team put together, and it has been updated. So as I think Stacey even mentioned something before, that something was called attributes, which is incredibly frustrating the way that it's called that. As you move from database view to web view, there are things that are called different things, right? Different terminology. Austin, Stacey, and the team put this together. Rob had a huge hand in this. There's a QR code right here. You can download it. We will continue upgrade. So this is like version 2 or 3. We'll keep updating this, every so often as stuff comes up. So I know it's been super helpful. I wanted to make sure that people knew that was out there. Let's do some lightning round Q&A, and then I want to reserve 1 minute to talk about Blackbaud Ninjas.
Yep.
We got a great question from Chris that he thought that the dashboards once limited where they could only report on the primary constituency code, meaning that if I had an alumni who's now a board member, I couldn't filter something based on a non-primary. Is this true, or has it changed?
I'm pretty sure that's still true.
I think there might be, Sarah Kramer put something in the chat, and I think you might be able to filter on the specific constituent code if you go through the properties of the insight.
Okay.
Instead of doing it in the, like, you won't be able to see, like, other than primary within the insight itself, but you might be able to drill down on the insight from that hidden feature that you should go try it out. Let us know if I'm right.
Yeah, definitely try it out and see if you can get it to at least find you all the right constituents, even if when you look at them on the dashboard, it still shows you a different.
As moderator, I need to point out we need to talk 10 times faster to get through.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Amy would like to know if you can do year-over-year reporting in Insight Designer.
Kind of not. You sort of can. So if you do Insight Designer, we've done it with putting a lot of filters on the inside of metrics. So you do a table basically, and for each column you can do date filters. And so then you say, January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023, and then you do a different column for each year. So it's pretty manual. It doesn't really update itself. So that's the best way we found to do it. There's nothing like super pretty.
Can you pull custom fields into a dashboard?
You cannot, that I am aware of.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm going to answer two questions in one here, Nick, just to make you happy. We had a few people ask questions about events in the kind of the event module inside of NXT. So noted, like we've listened to other things, we're going to look at maybe a future webinar as it relates to kind of event modules and auction and kind of bringing in data from other entities inside of Razor's Edge too from an event management standpoint. So hang tight.
Love it. Kathy asked, will the cheat sheet link be sent? I don't know if it was going to be, but that's a great idea. Rob, if you don't mind marking that down, let's remember to send that out when we send the links to this. A couple people asked about OLX. Austin, when is OLX going away?
I would presume that it will go away at the same time the database view will disappear.
So we're moving from different modules and different ways to give. Everything's moving to the NXT, like the Razor's Edge donation form.
Yeah, I would not delay on that piece. Now that pledges are in WebView, if you were a last holdout because you were waiting on pledges to exist in WebView, then you might want to try that out now and see if that's a good enough fix as it currently stands. Same deal for Net Community. I really don't think Net Community is going to be moved over.
Yep. Austin, Chris asked, they've been using a free version of Insight Designer. They have a dashboard that is using the pledge by campaign insight. It started suddenly doubling both the pledge amount and the pledge balance. Do you have a quick fix to that? Did that ring a bell with anything with you? No, it's okay to say no. So that goes back to the thing of you have to play around with stuff, dig into it. You're gonna, like anything new, some of it's gonna be you just have a filter on, or you have something weird and wonky that you're gonna notice. Some of it's gonna be Blackbaud has a couple bugs that need to be squashed.
There's like 4 different places you have to go look for filters. So it's the page, it's inside the insight in properties, it's editing the insight on the properties tab or the filters tab, and it's inside the specific metric within an insight. So go figure out which of those 4 are not talking well to each other.
And also check your gift types in your giving analysis section in the control panel, because that could be responsible too. If for some reason like committed is including pledges and pledge payments or something, it might be doubling stuff up. It's not by default, so I'm not sure how that would happen, but you would have had to tell it to do that. So
all right, sorting through here. Does projected amount include installments due from prior year pledges due? Austin, you marked, you wanted to answer that. I am trying to get to ones that we have an easy answer to, but
I don't know that that's an easy answer.
So the projected amount will be any active scheduled installment that has not been fulfilled at this point. So when we're looking at installment projections, it's looking at anything that's due forward and anything that was due previously that has not yet been paid, because it's assuming that that's still going to be accounted for. The only way that you can adjust that, it would be with the filters, where it's looking for a specific kind of pledge payment due or installment payment due from a recurring within a certain date range. It would not then include previous years.
no, well said. Does Insight Builder replace the dashboards in RE7 that can be tied to queries?
There has been some talk about attaching query to the dashboards, but I don't know if that's officially planned or not.
I've heard that too, but I haven't heard it in like a pub or something, right? Like I've heard it as
right. Yeah.
Austin Steve asked, can someone tell me where to find a good webinar on the membership web view?
That's a great question. I don't know if anyone has done one.
I don't know.
Officially, the answer is the sounds of crickets chirping.
Yeah.
Steve.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Steve. Nuts. There's lots of questions about Automate Genius. I know the links are in there. Like, you want to learn more about Automate Genius, we've got demos up and webinars specifically dedicated to that. Question: Can you keep the Insight Designer report after the 30 days if you don't purchase?
If you don't purchase, you cannot. I think if you buy it if you buy it before your time is up, you get to keep it.
Okay. Stacy, is there a security setting where you can turn off Dashboard Builder for particular users? I love this question. That dang person on your staff that keeps building dashboards. you need to get them to stop.
There totally is. It's in the roles in security and WebView.
Excellent. All right. Austin, do you see any other ones on here that actually, you know what? Hold that thought. I got to share what's coming up next. I'm so proud of this. Okay, we'll keep looking at the Q&A here. We'll even stay on a couple extra minutes for you. I wanted to announce this. Some of you already know this. We've been talking about it for a while. We've had this thing coming soon. We call Blackbaud Ninjas. It is now live. So you are on this call. You're among the very first to see this. Austin, Stacy, Mitch, Lauren, our whole team is putting together a YouTube channel. It's free. If you love these webinars, you're going to really love this YouTube channel full of amazing things. The idea is short, punchy little, when you have a razor's edge question, and eventually a larger Blackbaud ecosystem question. We have a question, you can go there. This is where you can find our webinars, but short little 2 to 3 minute videos, testimonials you can see on here. How to schedule standard reports in WebView, right? How to save a query as a favorite. In fact, that third one there, do you see all the text over Lauren's face? That was asked twice on this webinar, right? So you can go to this YouTube channel and you will have a short 3-minute video showing you how to exactly do that. It's amazing. When you go there, you can subscribe. And then every time we upload a new tutorial, a new video or something, you'll see. We're doing this for the goodness of our hearts. We're doing this for free. We have so much knowledge that we want to share. We feel very proud when we're able to share with the community. We're going to load this thing up. So keep an eye out on that YouTube channel for everything going forward. Austin and Stacy, how much of a pain is that when Mitch is like, hey, can you do another video for me here? Like 0 to 10, how painful is it to keep churning out all those videos?
It's not painful at all when I think of all the times that I would have totally watched a 2-minute video to figure out how to do something 10 years ago. So
the only pain is the setup, right? So like we're operating from a sandbox. So usually we have to go in and put stuff in that we can then show.
Right.
Yes, it takes a lot of that little 4-minute video takes half an hour or an hour of prep, right, to get everything lined up. I totally get it. So the reason I want to bring this up is there are so many also super users out there. We plan on opening this up. If you want to be a part of this and you want to create content and help the world, like, we're going to open this up and let other people help, fill this in. We think it's a good service to the community that we love here so much. So stay tuned. But in the meantime, go subscribe to that. I think you're going to like it. If we did not get to your Q&A, we will look through. Austin will if we have an answer to you, we'll shoot you a note. Look for the email tomorrow with the webinar slides and the link to the cheat sheet. In the meantime, if you like this webinar, I see so many familiar names on here. I'm sure many of you come to a lot of them. If this is your first time, subscribe to the newsletter. You won't get it more than once a month. It's usually, hey, here's what we have coming up. So that's how you know when to register for these in the future. We've got great stuff coming up. I think on donation forms, we got some stuff ahead of BBCon. I know some more side-by-side. I think it was importing data, like a side-by-side. So all the main stuff that people are always asking about, we'll do more webinars. Stacy, Austin, you guys are the best. Absolutely the best. I mean that. Thank you. And Stacy, thanks for dealing with my internet connection today and covering for me. I appreciate that. Folks, we appreciate all of you. Thank you. We will see you live on the next webinar. And until then, have a great day. We'll see you later.
Thanks, everybody.